Chris Bears on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the like.
The Chicago Bears did not expect this. Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. First and foremost, Bears fans, happy Saturday to every single one of you guys. We are only one day away from the very first preseason game against the Miami Dolphins, and I am super pumped up. I do understand that Caleb Williams and a lot of the starters will not play in tomorrow's first preseason game against Miami, but to me, that is totally fine. He got some very solid reps in the joint practice with the Dolphins yesterday at Hallis Hall. I know there's been a lot of Bears fans disgruntled about the whole Caleb Williams not playing, but Ben Johnson did make it very clear that he would play at some point during the preseason, and I'm in the mode right now as a Bears fan that I'm going to trust Ben Johnson and his plan for Caleb Williams and some of the key starters on this Chicago Bears offense. So Bears fans, let me know down below in the comment section how you feel about that whole situation. Do you believe that Caleb Williams should have played Sunday at Soldier Field in the very first preseason game against the Miami Dolphins, or do you think it's all good that he got some solid reps in the joint practice? Let me know down below in the comment section. So Bears fans, in regard to the joint practice, I first and foremost want to apologize for not posting a video yesterday on the channel. I was dealing with some house issues, so I needed to take care of that before I actually posted a video. But in regard to the joint practice with the Miami Dolphins yesterday at Hallis Hall, everything went really well, especially from the Chicago Bears defense, right? The Chicago Bears defense dominated. They forced Tua into 3 interceptions in just yesterday's practice alone. And for what I've been hearing is that Tua has been having a really, really strong camp, has only thrown 1 interception in the duration of training camp for the Dolphins. But the Bears defense got after it, right? You saw Jaquan Brisker get into the action. You saw Kevin Byard. You saw Tremaine Edmonds get into the action. And, you know, I have to get a huge shout out to Dennis Allen and how he has not only the entirety of this Bears defense playing, but especially the secondary. What made this impressive for the Chicago Bears defense yesterday is that they were without, obviously, Jalen Johnson, and of course, Kyler Gordon sat out as well. But our secondary, our corners, we're still getting after it. There was a play where Tyreek Stevenson absolutely laid out Jalen Waddle. You could just tell that Dennis Allen has this defense playing some very aggressive football. So huge shout out to Dennis Allen and huge shout out how he has this defense playing so far. This defense has the potential to be a top 10 unit in my eyes. And it can definitely get scarier if Ryan Poles and the Bears do decide to make one more big move to add another edge rusher alongside Montez Sweat. But huge shout out to the Chicago Bears defense in the joint practice against the Miami Dolphins. But Bears fans, that's not what I want to talk about in regard to that joint practice with Miami. There was another big storyline and something that, you know, I don't think Ryan Poles or Ben Johnson or the organization expected, not something that the Bears fans really expected going into training camp. And it's in regard to someone on the Chicago Bears offense. And it was really a mixed bag yesterday for the Bears offense. There were some good and bad plays from Caleb Williams. Obviously, Colston Loveland had some good plays as well. Obviously Luther Burden, everyone on the offense, just kind of an up and down day. But there's been one constant positive throughout not only the joint practice, but throughout the entirety of training camp for the Chicago Bears. And that has been the impact of Olamide Zaccheaus. And Zaccheaus came from the Washington Commanders last year, has been kind of a journeyman, started his career as an undrafted free agent with the Atlanta Falcons, and then moved on to the Philadelphia Eagles, and then played for the Washington Commanders. So he's kind of bounced around a little bit in his NFL career, but he has created a very, very strong connection with Caleb Williams. And this has not only been seen in the joint practice yesterday with the Miami Dolphins, this has also been through the duration of the camp since day one, 2 weeks during camp. Zaccheaus has been brought up time and time again by Ben Johnson, by reporters that have been watching practice, fans that are attending practice. This is a development that I'm definitely loving because prior to bringing in Zaccheaus, obviously they went out and drafted Luther Burden as well in round 2. And it seemed like for the longest time that Luther Burden was the lock to be the wide receiver 3 behind DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. But Zaccheaus is really making a huge argument here that he could solidify the number 3 spot and just give Caleb Williams yet another weapon and really a 4-headed monster. Just looking at the wide receiver room with DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Zaccheaus, and Luther Burden. And that's not even including what you're going to get from Colston Loveland as a receiving threat, as a tight end, Cole Kmet, obviously DeAndre Swift out of the backfield. So this has been a really strong development through camp, and that is how well Zaccheaus has been playing within this Ben Johnson offense and the chemistry that he's created with Caleb Williams. Just talking about yesterday, we're not even talking about the duration of camp because he's been making plays all camp long, but just looking at yesterday, he made some really, really big plays. He had a really nice one-handed catch on the sideline. Obviously he had a big play downfield where, Caleb Williams threw it about 40 yards and then he took it, the rest of the way 30 yards. So in total, it was a 70-yard touchdown. Zaccheaus has that big play ability. He's always been a very good player. It just seems that he's going to fit perfectly within that slot role in this Ben Johnson offense here in Chicago. And I'm definitely looking forward to see how Ben Johnson uses him, because you look at his career, right? In 2024, last year, this is when he really had a really good year for the Commanders. 45 catches for 506 yards and 3 touchdowns. Has a good mixture of speed and quickness. Once again, a natural fit in the slot in Ben Johnson's offense. And when you look at Zaccheaus' career, he's always been a good player. He's just been a part of a lot of loaded wide receiver rooms where he wasn't really afforded the opportunity to showcase his actual skill. With the Atlanta Falcons, had Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley on that roster, so he's kind of lost in the shadows there. Then with the Philadelphia Eagles, you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, so kind of got lost in the shadows there as well. And then with the Washington Commanders, he finally got the opportunity to get some serious action, and he was a huge safety net for Jaden Daniels, Cliff Kingsbury, and that Commanders offense. Once again, 45 catches for 506 yards, 3 touchdown receptions. So now I see what Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles saw when they, brought Zaccheaus in, because that was definitely one of those moves where I watched his highlights and I was like, hey, it seems like a solid player, but with Luther Burden in the fold, will there be room for him? But no, he has been really showing his ass during training camp. Once again, the chemistry is definitely there between Caleb Williams and Zaccheaus, and I think he's going to be a massive matchup nightmare, especially with all the other weapons we have on this offense with DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland. This is going to be a guy that's going to kind of be forgotten about, and where defenses are going to be like, man, we have to worry about Zaccheaus too, and his big playability and his mixture of speed and quickness, right? And he's also a willing blocker as well. So he's also a very tough receiver at that. So I'm not saying he's as good as Amon-Ra St. Brown, but Ben Johnson is definitely going to use him how he used Amon-Ra with the Detroit Lions. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. And once again, this is a perfect fit for Zaccheaus and Ben Johnson's offense. This is probably going to be the best offense he's ever played in terms of natural fit. So take that into account when you're thinking about what he did in 2024 with 45 catches, 506 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He has the opportunity to have some probably big career highs in year 1 with the Chicago Bears in this Ben Johnson offense. So Bears fans, I just want you guys to keep a close eye on Zaccheaus, because he has definitely been balling. And it's definitely something I didn't expect as a Bears fan. Coming in to training camp, I was so focused on Luther Burden and Colston Loveland, but it's actually been Zaccheaus that has been stealing the show and has been really consistent weapon for Caleb Williams, Ben Johnson, and the Chicago Bears offense. So Bears fans, let me know down below if you guys are also excited to see what Zaccheaus does in this Ben Johnson offense here in Chicago. I can't wait to hear from you guys. But Bears fans, before I let you guys go on today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I just wanted to share with you guys what Kevin Byard had to say about Ben Johnson and the culture that he's building here in Chicago after the joint practice with the Miami Dolphins. And this is what he had to say, Bears fans. He said, "I haven't been a part of training camp like this before in my career." Honestly, said Byard, who is going into his 10th season. Byard began his career with the middling Titans under Mike Mularkey, then saw the whole vibe shift when Mike Vrabel walked in the door and turned them into a smash mouth team on both sides of the ball. "I just really enjoy the energy that he sets every single day," Byard said of Johnson. "It feels very similar to what it was when I was with Vrabel." And Bears fans, first and foremost, we all understand that Ben Johnson has created a very intense environment here in Chicago. And we all know Mike Vrabel is also a very intense coach, and he creates very intense competitive environments. Just like Kevin Byard said, you have to understand that during Mike Vrabel's time with the Tennessee Titans, that was probably one of the most physical football teams in the National Football League. But here's what I want to say, and this is why it's kind of funny that Kevin Byard said this about Ben Johnson and compared him to Mike Vrabel. We have to understand that Mike Vrabel is a very big guy. He is an ex-NFL linebacker. So it's just naturally that he's physically imposing as a head coach. So you expect that from a guy like Mike Vrabel. When you look at Ben Johnson, you don't expect that. You look at Ben Johnson, he's a math major, right? He looks like a analytics nerd. He looks like not really your prototypical head coach, right? So the fact that Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel, and they look completely different, right? In terms of their build, you wouldn't think that Ben Johnson has that edge to him. And that's what always cracks me up, that with all these reports coming out, and, you saw it in Detroit as well when you get fired up. But people were really wondering if Ben Johnson can be a true leader, if he can be a true head coach. And right now, it's so far so good. He is passing all the tests. He is blunt. He is transparent. He has no problem getting into your face. He is fiery. He brings the energy every single day. And that is exactly the change, the culture change that the Chicago Bears needed from Matt Eberflus to now with Ben Johnson. So just wanted to share that with you guys really quick, what Kevin Byard had to say. And a lot of players are saying that. Obviously Richard Hightower came out and said that as well. It's just night and day for the Chicago Bears in regard to the leadership styles and the energy that Ben Johnson is bringing compared to what Matt Eberflus was bringing the last couple of years for the Chicago Bears organization. So Bears fans, other than that, make sure you guys continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, be back for all new Bears podcast right here on Geek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic.